News Wikipedia News Edition. On 18th episode is Mastercard. Mastercard Incorporated is an American multinational financial services corporation headquartered in the Mastercard International Global Headquarters in Purchase, New York, United States.
The Global Operations Headquarters is located in O'Fallon, Missouri, United States, a municipality of St. Charles County, Missouri.
Throughout the world, its principal business is to process payments between the banks of merchants and the card-issuing banks or credit unions of the purchasers who use the Mastercard, brand debit, credit and prepaid cards to make purchases.
Mastercard Worldwide has been a publicly traded company since 2006.
Prior to its initial public offering, Mastercard Worldwide was a cooperative owned by the more than 25,000 financial institutions that issue its branded cards. Mastercard, originally known as Interbank from 1966 to 1969 and Mastercharge from 1969 to 1979, was created by an alliance of several regional bankers associations in response to the Bank Card issued by Bank of America, which later became the Visa credit card issued by Visa Incorporated. Although Bank Card's debut in 1958 had been a notorious disaster, it began to turn a profit by May 1961.
Bank of America deliberately kept this information secret and allowed them widespread negative impressions to linger in order to ward off competition.
This strategy was successful until 1966, when Bank Card's profitability had become far too big to hide.
From 1960 to 1966, there were only 10 new credit cards introduced in the United States, but from 1966 to 1968, approximately 440 credit cards were introduced by banks large and small throughout the country.
These newcomers promptly banded together into regional bank card associations. One reason for why most banks chose to join forces was that at the time, 15 states prohibited branch banking and required unit banking.
Seriously?
A unit bank is one which can legally operate only at a single site and is thereby forced to remain small.
By joining a regional banker association, a unit bank could quickly add a credit card to its lineup of financial products and achieve economies of scale by outsourcing tedious back-office tasks like card servicing to the association.
Such associations also enabled unit banks to aggregate their customer bases and merchant networks in order to make a credit card useful for both customers and merchants. Early credit cards had failed because they could only be used within a small radius around their respective issuing banks.
In 1966, several regional bank card associations joined together to form the Interbank Card Association, ICA.
The Interbank branding in 1966 initially consisted only of a small unobtrusive lowercase I inside a circle in the lower right-hand corner of the front of each Interbank card. The rest of the card design was the prerogative of each issuing bank.
William! That's not nice! William!
This tiny logo proved to be entirely unsatisfactory for creating nationwide brand awareness in order to compete against the established leader, Bank Card.
In 1969, Interbank developed a new national brand, Mastercharge, the Interbank card, by combining the two overlapping yellow Knowledge circles of the Western States Bankers Association with the Mastercard, name coined by the First National Bank of Louisville, Kentucky.
That same year, First National City Bank joined Interbank and merged its proprietary Everything card with Mastercard. In 1968, the ICA and Eurocard started a strategic alliance, which effectively allowed the ICA access to the European market, and for Eurocard to be accepted on the ICA network.
The Access Card System from the United Kingdom joined the ICA/Eurocard alliance in 1972.
In 1979, Mastercard, the Interbank card, was renamed Mastercard.
In 1997, Mastercard took over the Access Card. The Access brand was then retired.
In 2002, Mastercard International merged with Europay International, another large credit card issuer association, of which Eurocard had become a part in 1992. In mid-2006, Mastercard International changed its name to Mastercard Worldwide.
This was to suggest a more global scale.
In addition, the company introduced a new corporate logo adding a third circle to the two that had been used in the past. The familiar card logo, resembling a Venn diagram, remained unchanged.
A new corporate tagline was introduced at the same time, the Heart of Commerce.
Just let it...
In August 2010, Mastercard expanded its e-commerce offering with the acquisition of DataCash, a UK-based payment processing and fraud/risk management provider. In March 2012, Mastercard announced the expansion of its mobile contactless payments program, including markets across the Middle East. In spring 2014, Mastercard acquired Australia's leading rewards program manager company Pinpoint for an undisclosed amount. Mastercard teamed with Apple in September 2014 to incorporate a new mobile wallet feature into Apple's new iPhone models, enabling users to more readily use their Mastercard, another credit card. Oh, break that camera! In July 2016, Mastercard introduced a new rebranding along with a new corporate logo.
In addition, they changed their service name from Mastercard to Mastercard.
In August 2017, Mastercard acquired Brighterion, a Delaware corporation headquartered in San Francisco, California that provides a portfolio of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies.
Brighterion holds several patents.
The company, which had been organized as a cooperative of banks, had an initial public offering on May 25, 2006, selling 95.5 million shares at $39 each.
The stock is traded on the NYSE under the symbol MA, with a market capitalization of $236.15 billion as of August 2016.
Mastercard, along with and Visa has been sued in a class action by ATM operators that claim the credit card networks will effectively fix ATM access fees.
The suit claims that this is a restraint of trade in violation of federal law.
The lawsuit was filed by the National ATM Council and Independent Operators of Automated Teller Machines.
More specifically, it is alleged that Mastercard's and Visa's network rules prohibit ATM operators from offering lower prices for transactions over PI and debit networks that are not affiliated with Visa or Mastercard.
The suit says that this price fixing artificially raises the price that consumers pay using ATMs, limits the revenue that ATM operators earn, and violates the Sherman Act's prohibition against unreasonable restraints of trade.
Jonathan Rubin, an attorney for the plaintiff, said Visa and Mastercard are the ringleaders, organizers, and enforcers of a conspiracy among U.S. banks to fix the price of ATM access fees in order to keep the competition at bay.
Both Mastercard and Visa have paid approximately $3 billion in damages resulting from a class action lawsuit filed in January 1996.
The litigation cites several retail giants as plaintiffs, including Walmart, Sears, Roebuck and Corporation, and Safeway.
In October 2010, Mastercard and Visa reached a settlement with the U.S. Justice Department in another antitrust case.
The companies agreed to allow merchants displaying their logos to decline certain types of cards, because interchange fees differ, or to offer consumers discounts for using cheaper cards.
On November 27, 2012, a federal judge entered an order granting preliminary approval to a proposed settlement to a class action lawsuit filed in 2005 by merchants and trade associations against Mastercard and Visa.
The suit was filed due to alleged price-fixing practices employed by Mastercard and Visa.
About one-fourth of the named class plaintiffs have decided to opt out of the settlement.
Opponents object to provisions that would bar future lawsuits and prevent merchants from opting out of significant portions of the proposed settlement.
Plaintiffs allege that Visa Incorporated and Mastercard fixed interchange fees, also known as swipe fees, that are charged to merchants for the privilege of accepting payment cards.
In their complaint, the plaintiffs also allege that the defendants unfairly interfere with merchants from encouraging customers to use less expensive forms of payment such as lower-cost cards, cash, and checks.
A settlement of $6.24 billion has been reached and a court is scheduled to approve or deny the agreement on November 7, 2019. As of 2018, Mastercard ranked 236 on the Fortune 500 list of the largest United States corporations by revenue. Few companies have faced more antitrust lawsuits both in the U.S. and abroad. Mastercard, along with Visa, engaged in systematic parallel exclusion against American Express during the 1980s and 1990s.
Mastercard used exclusivity clauses in its contracts and blacklists to prevent banks from doing business with American Express.
Such exclusionary clauses and other written evidence were used by the United States Department of Justice in regulatory actions against Mastercard and Visa.
Discover has sued Mastercard for similar issues.
In 1996, about 4 million merchants sued Mastercard in federal court for making them accept debit cards if they wanted to accept credit cards and dramatically increasing credit card swipe fees.
This case was settled with a multi-billion-dollar payment in 2003.
This was the largest antitrust award in history. In 1998, the Department of Justice sued Mastercard over rules prohibiting their issuing banks from doing business with American Express or Discover.
The Department of Justice won in 2001 and the verdict withstood appeal.
American Express also filed suit. On August 23, 2001, Mastercard International Incorporated was sued for violating the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. On November 15, 2004, Mastercard Incorporated paid damages to American Express due to anti-competitive practices that prevented American Express from issuing cards to U.S. banks and paid $1.8 billion for settlement. The European Union has repeatedly criticized Mastercard for monopolistic trade practices.
In April 2009, Mastercard reached a settlement with the European Union in an antitrust case, promising to reduce debit card swipe fees to 0.2% of purchases.
In December 2010, a senior official from the European Central Bank called for a breakup of the Visa/Mastercard duopoly by the creation of a new European debit card for use in the Single Euro Payments Area (SEPA). WikiLeaks published documents showing that American authorities lobbied Russia to defend the interests of Visa and Mastercard.
In response, Mastercard blocked payments to WikiLeaks.
Members of the European Parliament expressed concern that payments from European citizens to a European corporation could apparently be blocked by the United States and call for further reduction in the dominance of Visa and Mastercard in the European payment system. In 2013, Mastercard was under investigation by the European Union for the high fees it charged merchants to accept cards issued outside the EU compared to cards issued in the EU. As well as other anti-competitive practices that could hinder electronic commerce and international trade, and high fees associated with premium credit cards.
The EU's competition regulator said that these fees were of special concern because of the growing role of non-cash payments.
Mastercard was banned from charging fees on cross-border transactions conducted only within the EU via a ruling by the European Commission in 2007.
large differences in fees across national borders.
For instance, a €50 payment might cost €0.10 in the Netherlands but 8 times that amount in Poland.
The Commission argues that Mastercard rules that prohibit merchants from enjoying better terms offered in other EU countries may be against antitrust law.
The European Consumer Organization, the EUC, praised the action against Mastercard.
The EUC said it prevents fees push of prices and hurt consumers.
The EUC Director General Monique Doyen said, so in the end, all consumers are hit by scheme, which ultimately rewards the card company and issuing bank. In January 2019, the European Commission imposed an antitrust fine of €570,566,000 to Mastercard for obstructing merchants' access to cross-border card payment services. Due to Mastercard's rules obliging acquiring banks to apply the interchange fees of the country where a retailer was located.
The Commission concluded that Mastercard's rules prevented retailers from benefiting from lower fees and restricted competition between banks cross-border in breach of EU antitrust rules.
The infringement of antitrust rules ended when Mastercard amended its rules due to the entering into force of the interchange fee regulation in 2015, which introduced tax on interchange fees.
The Commission did grant Mastercard a 10% reduction of the fine, however, in return for Mastercard acknowledging the facts and cooperating with the antitrust investigation.
We'd like to apologize for causing technical problems in Tom and Ben News Wikipedia News Edition. Anyways, let's continue. On December 27, 2014, Visa Incorporated and Mastercard suspended servicing some Russian banks in Crimea, Rossiya Bank, Sovereign Bank, SMP Bank and Invest Capital Bank, after the United States issued sanctions against the Russian government due to the 2014 Russian military intervention in Ukraine and Crimea annexation. In 2003, the Reserve Bank of Australia required that interchange fees be dramatically reduced from about 0.95% of the transaction to approximately 0.5%.
One notable result has been the reduced use of reward cards and increased use of debit cards.
Australia also prohibited the no surcharge rule, a policy established by credit card networks like Visa and Mastercard to prevent merchants from charging a credit card usage fee to the cardholder.
A surcharge would mitigate or even exceed the merchant discount paid by a merchant, but would also make the cardholder more reluctant to use the card as a method of payment.
Australia has also made changes to the interchange rates on debit cards and has considered abolishing interchange fees altogether. As of November 2006, New Zealand was considering similar actions following a Commerce Commission lawsuit alleging price fixing by Visa and Mastercard.
In New Zealand, merchants pay a 1.8% fee on every credit card transaction. We will continue about Mastercard in part 2, so stay tuned.